e-commerce is getting really populated. There's a lot of different brands bidding for people's attention spans at all-time low with the rise of TikTok. We're all like hamsters with attention spans. So like you have like 2 seconds to win a customer over and sell your product. So it's getting more and more challenging. I think where people are overcomplicating thing is actually the media buying side.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Exact Digital Podcast, where we dive into what's working and what's not in today's fast-moving marketing landscape. Today, I'm joined by Parker Kump, founder of TUFF Media, a performance marketing agency that helps e-commerce brands scale with precision and purpose. Based in Vancouver, Parker launched TUFF after cutting his teeth in media buying and quickly realizing there was a smarter, faster, and more transparent way to grow brands online. TUFF Media has worked with everything from home decor to gaming and women's apparel brands, managing budgets from 10K to over $1 million per month, and delivering results that are actually measurable. In this episode, we'll unpack what an e-commerce brand gets wrong about media buying, how TUFF balances creative, paid, and retention, building lean teams and trusting outside partnerships, and why keeping a spiky team might be your biggest growing advantage. Parker, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenzie. So excited for this.
Yes. And when we first met, neither of us had glasses on, and today we are glasses up. So we are professional here
Yes.
for you.
We're so smart, so professional.
Love it. So you've been in the media buying world for a while, but what was the spark that pushed you to start TUFF Media?
Yeah. Great question. So I got into media buying probably like nine plus years ago. It was when I was in college. Got into it because I was into marketing and just started working for people for free. Essentially, I was like, well, I'm studying marketing. I should start learning like all the different subsections of marketing. So just started approaching businesses as like this naive college kid and just started working for them for free and getting tasks. And I started in actually SEO and thought it was really cool, really helpful for businesses. But and then I approached this other guy that owns a business and I was like, what do you need help with marketing? And he's like, Facebook ads. I was like, cool, I'm a professional at that and had no idea how to run it, but quickly learned that like went way more aligned with my strengths. Like I love seeing changes being made and then seeing results pretty instantaneously. Where nothing against SEO, but that's where SEO lacks, right? It's like a lot of like health for the business. You can build it, optimize for it, and then you'll see it over months time, like or weeks to months time. Whereas Facebook ads pretty instantaneous. So that kind of fueled that, and I just dove in headfirst, bought every course online, lived on YouTube, and then just kept approaching e-commerce businesses because I kind of followed the money. I was like, but e-commerce spends the most on Facebook ads and it's crucial to their business. So I should probably learn this. So pretty early days, I got into e-commerce and that's what kind of set me on that trajectory and then built my resume. And then when I got out of college, I worked for a pretty popular media company up here in Vancouver called Daily Hive. And they kind of threw me the keys to all their media buying. They're like, run our, which was like, it was pretty light. Like I think it was like a 40, 50K a month media buying budget on Facebook ads, which was like astronomical to me. And so it just really like opened my eyes to like learning, and that's when I really started getting the hang for media buying. And then a couple businesses reached out to me asking for help, and I was like took them as side clients, and that's when I kind of cracked the code for them on media buying and grew their business pretty substantially. And that's one of my first two clients called me, and that's when they said, you should do this full time. Like, you really helped our business, and they wanted to actually partner with me. And I said, thank you. But no, thank you. I don't need a partner. I just need a laptop and I could probably start doing this. I don't need any investments or anything like that, but I am going to. And I quit my job 2 weeks later and kind of just started snowballing from there. And 2 clients turned to 4 clients, turned to 5 clients. And then I realized that, okay, I actually think I have a business here, not just like this paying hobby. And that's when I started getting into like building an agency because I didn't love the agency world. I worked in it previously. So I was like, if I'm going to build this, I'm going to try to build this in my eyes, the right way. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun 4 years, and it's crazy to see kind of how far we've come. But that's kind of the road to how I got to starting TUFF Media.
Yeah, I love your passion for it. When we spoke before, I can just tell that it's just who you are and you naturally fell into it. And you said you love the data, you love results, and then you look at e-commerce, it's the perfect way to track. It's the best and easiest way. So you have that whole cycle just moving and growing. And like you said, SEO is really, really important, but it's kind of like going to the gym every single day and eating properly and getting that workout in, and that's how you lose the weight. Whereas when you're
Yeah.
doing ads, maybe you're taking this might be bad, but the Ozempic shot, or
Yeah,
something
it's the
like
speed
that.
up. Yeah, and I preach that actually to clients. I'm like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And if it's this big fundamental problem, it's like, hey, well, like ads can help with that, but that ads should be looked on as the layer to a business, like building the foundation of a brand, organic, all that. Like that's not what we're good at, but that's so necessary. And you should really do that if I'm speaking to the brand. And we are the gasoline on top of the fire. What happens if you have ever had a fire, you just pour gasoline on it, you get a big puff of flames. But if you don't have like this foundational base, you just get a puff of flames and then it goes out. That's like running ads without that foundational base of a business. You get a lot of traffic, get a lot of clicks, but might get some sales. But as soon as you turn that dial off, sales fall off a cliff, right? And then it's just a pay to play game. So the best is like a healthy combination of organic, referrals, direct, paid ads, email. And so we're kind of checking 1 to 2 of those boxes. But I always preach that to brands that it's a combination, not just this like one fixed thing that can look at. So you should still go to the gym and eat healthy, but you can also take some supplements, which are yeah, it's
Absolutely. I like the fire representation. That was really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
I use that so much, and I'm like, I always warn people. I'm like, this is a very corny analogy, but it paints the picture, and most people are like, okay, I think I get it now.
Absolutely. And when there are clients that come to you and they're like, I'm ready to place ads. I want to generate traffic to your website." It's always like that challenge of being like, "Okay, well, first let's take a step back. Like, where are your foundations? What have you done so far? Like, as much as I want to help you, we need to backtrack this and maybe there's a little bit of time before we're ready for you or you're ready for us."
Oh, all the time, all the time. I talk people out of our services like all the time. I'm like, you're not ready for this. And then I help. I use that analogy, or I tell them like, you know what, a healthy e-commerce business is like a 30-30-30 with 10% floating. 30% of revenue coming from ads, 30% coming from email, or SMS, and then 30% just organic and direct. And you can have 10% floating in each bucket. But if you're just going to be 80% ads in one bucket, you're so over leveraged. And what if good old Mark Zuckerberg wakes up one day and just cranks your CPMs? Or worst case, suspends your ad account, which we've had businesses do that. That happens all the time. And then what? You can't make payroll the next day. So it's really the health of a business is crucial. And that should only be like a third to maybe a fourth, a third to a bit higher maybe of the business. It should not be, if it's 70-80% of your revenue, I would highly recommend you start looking at these other channels to open up so it
Right.
can be a good blend.
And if there's an agency that tells you that it should be that, run.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to get 80% of your revenue so then they can say jump and you say how high. So yeah, no, health of a bit, especially in this economy, like the health of a business and not being over leveraged to one challenge is so crucial to the success of e-commerce.
Right. And like, what's your sales process? Like, once those people are brought to your website, how are you going to nurture them into a client or a lead? I know you do a lot of e commerce, but say it's
Mhm.
like a service. If someone needs to fill out a form, are they calling somebody? Are they getting called? Is there someone there that's actually going to close the deal? So that's
Yeah.
also a really important aspect.
Oh, 100%. And we do some lead generation. We're primary e-commerce for that reason. There's just a lot of touch points that we don't have control of. And that's why I love e-commerce is we have kind of maximum control of converting somebody if we're doing creative retention, automated flows, even some like web dev and conversion rate optimization. Like then it's just show up or show out, right? Like you give us X, we give you Y. And I love that side. I love doing that for businesses. And and just having that pressure. Because I'm really confident in the team, but where lead gen, there's just a lot of ambiguity and a lot of touch points that we don't have in control. And it's very easy for businesses to say, like, this isn't helping mine. It's like, well, it goes dark after this touch point. So I don't know. So that's why we were probably like 90% e-commerce.
Yeah, totally. It's much
Yeah.
easier to track. So you started solo and now you've got 15 plus team members and 30 plus clients. What's been the most surprising lesson in building your agency?
Oh, surprising lesson. So I would say there's like different like levels to building an agency that each one comes with like this your own lesson and learning. And I'm nowhere near figured it out, just consistently learning. But I think like when you start, you're like, okay, how do I do this like effectively, like the service? And so you're learning that. And then you kind of learn sales of how to bring on business, and then you get good at that. And then eventually you're okay, now I have to outsource this fulfillment to contractors. So then you learn project management and delegation. Then eventually you bring on full-time people. Now you're like, okay, now I'm a manager. So just each step you're taking on new, and eventually then you're bringing on management, which is the stage I'm in. And then you're being a leader to other leaders, right? And that's a whole new ball game. So I would say each step or kind of level you get to as building the agency is just this whole new lessons that you learn. But the one I'm really diving into now is people management and influence, and like how to evaluate strengths. Cause I had a coach, mentor, advisor, however you want to call it. He kind of gave this really good, I don't know if it's like an analogy to me. He's like, if you ran an e-commerce business, you'd probably be obsessed with product, right? Like if I ran a hoodie company, I'd want to make sure that hoodie is high quality. Where are we sourcing it from? Like, what is the materials? He's like, yeah, you're in the people business, so you should be obsessed about that product. Like, how do you manage people? How do you get the most out of them? How can you make sure that they're fulfilled? How can you create success for them? So that's your product, and be obsessed about being a people manager in a service-based business. Because if you're not you don't actually have a physical product, where if you did, you'd probably be obsessed there. Like you hear Mr. Beast, right? When he got into the chocolate game, he just got obsessed about chocolate in the industry. So be that, but for service-based business, which is be obsessed about people. End of the day, your clients are people. You have people on your team. So raising my lid that way has been a really big unlock, I would say. And again, still figuring it out along the way, but consistently investing in coaching, training, and just different managerial techniques to make sure people do get fulfilled. Because having a great staff is the make it or break for an agency. To be honest, you're a service based business. You can only go as high as the team you have. So if they are fulfilled, you retain them, you accelerate them, then you're probably going to win. And same with their clients.
Yeah, I really like that advice your coach gave you about the
Oh yeah.
product being the person or the team. That's
Yeah,
a
it was a great way of putting it, and it's so that's what I love about like advisors, mentors, and coaches. Is sometimes they put things so simple to you. You're like, it's so simple, but yet it definitely like hit the nail on the head, and you're like, why didn't I think of that kind of mentality? But it was great. He kind of smacked me around a little bit and was like, because I went to him with a complaint of like, why aren't we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing that way? And he's like, yeah, you're not setting them up for success, your team. Like, you actually have to look at yourself before you start complaining about your team not executing accordingly. Like, have you even set the standard? So, yeah. And then he even kind of smacked me around of that. Like, have you raised your lid? Like, nobody wants to work with somebody that isn't raising their lid, or their lid's higher than the person that they're working for. Right. So like consistently reinvesting and learning. I love that. It's just in a different channel now. Before it was, how do I keep learning about Facebook ads and Google ads? Now it's, how do I keep learning about management?
I love that. And the smartest person in the room is able to take a step back and be like, "Okay, let me assess myself. Maybe I don't know this. Let's learn about it," rather than saying like, "I know everything." Then you're never going to grow.
Oh yeah. Then nobody wins with ego leading a team.
Definitely not. So going a little bit back to the e-commerce space, what's your take on the current state of performance marketing for DTC brands? Are people overcomplicating things or oversimplifying them?
Oh, such a great question. So in the last like 4 years, I would say D2C has gone really, buzzword and really sexy. Like starting an e-commerce brand, it almost, I don't want to say easy because I don't want to like like undervalue what people have created, but it was easier than than it is now. Before you could just create a really good product, a good Shopify themed website, run Facebook ads because they were cheap, and you could scale profitably and get like a 5 to 6x attributed return on ad spend. Like the glory days. I wish it was still like that because and then COVID happened and everybody was kind of sitting at home getting stimulus checks and just spending online, and it was really easy, right? So now economy's in a weird spot. Like people have money but they don't want to spend money, so you're convincing the consumer even more. E-commerce is getting really populated. There's a lot of different brands bidding for it. People's attention spans at all-time low with the rise of TikTok. We're all like hamsters with attention spans. So like you have like 2 seconds to win a customer over and sell your product. So it's getting more and more challenging. I think where people are overcomplicating thing actually the media buying side. People are still trying to sell the brands that like, oh no, we're the best media buyers in the world and we'll scale your brand because of that. It doesn't work that way anymore. I wish you could just sit in a dark room with a hoodie on, not do anything, and just media buy your way to a 5x. Like, I love that. It's not. It's not. People are overcomplicated. Media buying is getting simpler. And with the rise of Advantage Plus, Performance Max, and AI, there's a lot the platforms are limiting how micromanage you can be as a media buyer and trying to more broaden the scope. So you just give it parameters and let it do its thing. The part that brands are missing on is the creative side. The days of just having an okay graphic or an okay lifestyle image and then media buying your way to profitable return on ad spend are kind of behind us. Having high quality media buying plus high quality creatives, like understanding emotional motivators of what your product or service does for a customer, that's the unlock. And then to the other omni-channel things that we talked about earlier is then having, okay, now what is the LTV of a customer? How do we retain them? How do we accelerate them? How do we upsell them? And just gamifying it that way. I'm still pitching on clients and they're saying, well, oh, the guy down the street pitched me on just scaling me through Facebook ads because he used to do that with like fidget spinners. I'm like, yeah, no, that does not work anymore. I used to be that guy. That does not work anymore. You need omni-channel, Meta, Google, maybe even omni-channel, Pinterest or TikTok for top funnel acquisition, then automated flows and nurture sequences, and then good conversion rates on your website. Like there's a full suite of performance marketing that happen now, not just a one-trick pony. So it was a very long-winded answer, but that's where I think brands and even agencies are oversimplifying and overcomplicating things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you just have to pay attention to the times and the fact that we no longer, as humans, at least in the US and Canada, we're not buying into this is so perfect. Like, you want to buy this. We're the best thing you've ever seen in your life. People are like, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah.
everybody during COVID, we were here, richest of the rich, poorest of the poor. We're sitting in their homes, twiddling our thumbs, like, okay, what are we going to do next? It
Yeah.
humbled
There's
us
a
as
lot of
a
retail therapy going on during COVID, right?
yes,
Not as
yes,
easy now. Like knowing the reason people actually purchase from you, it sounds so simple, but there's actually a lot of brands that don't even know that. Like I use this example a lot whenever I'm talking to people who are trying to get this point across. Um, like I was talking to this one supplement company and I was like, well, who's your core demographic and why do they buy from you? And I said, oh, it's young guys that want to build muscle. Of course, the founder was a young male trying to build muscle. I started looking into data. I was like, you're like 60% of your traffic is actually female, like looking for cutting supplements or weight loss supplements, like, and none of your advertising is even speaking that. It's all about young dudes getting jacked. So like you have so much data at your fingertips running an e-commerce business, and there's still founders or teams that just don't even listen to that data. And so it's sometimes not even as hard as like, oh, we got to do like this research program of like why people are buying. It's like, well, no, you could actually just look at data, and two, you could just ask them. Like I talk to brands so much. I'm like, do you have like a post-purchase survey that goes out? Do you just ever ask your customers why? And you can just uncover emotional motivators from your previous purchasers, and then that just should go into your ad strategy. And it's like that's a really simplified way, but you'd be surprised how many brands just aren't even doing that. And it's like such this crazy unlock that then helps convert the ads better and helps retain customers better because they're buying for the right reason, not
right.
going on sale or new product drops or something like that.
Exactly. I used to do HelloFresh, if you're familiar with it.
Oh yeah.
And then I stopped because the flavors just got too repetitive. And I
Mhm.
told them this. I did a survey. I told them this twice actually, but then they kept targeting me with new, hey, look at this nice product. Look at this. We've got 50% off, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's not the problem that I had. Leave me alone until you fix that problem. And while I was talking about this, it was with one of our partners, and he was like, me too. That's
Yeah.
exactly why we stopped. What do you mean?
It's not even a
So
price objection. It's just a
exactly.
variation, and yeah, exactly. So,
So if they
and
would
they
go
and
in and take
HelloFresh
that
probably,
advice.
yeah, and HelloFresh probably so much data that they could probably go fix that problem much easier. So, um, no, that's such a great example of my objection is not price. A lot of brands immediately go to price, especially in today's like again the economy today is like, oh well, people aren't buying. We should go on discount. It's like one, no, you're buying discount shoppers too, and then your current customer is just gonna wait till you go on discount again, and it's not. It ends up doing more harm than good. I find it's like a short term fix for a long term problem.
Right. HelloFresh, you hear it. Let us help you.
Yeah, exactly. So click the link below.
Click the link below. So when you're onboarding a new client, can you take me a little bit through that process?
Yeah, yeah. So usually when we're onboarding, we have a decent amount of inbound. So we meet the client, just kind of ask them a lot of like qualifying questions. You know, are you the right fit? And then what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to gain out of this? I like to take sales as like prescription. How do like what are you trying to solve, and are we the right prescription? If not, respectfully point you in the right way. If we are, I can then prescribe you to like our solutions. So it's this quick kind of first call, and then we go into, okay, let's get access to things. I want to look under the hood. I want to make sure we can actually fulfill this prescription and like help this brand. And so we'll do like an audit of everything, and then we have a big hour to an hour and a half meeting. I mean, we don't like to call it a pitch because it is very back and forth of like, hey, this is kind of what we heard from you. This is what we're seeing. These are the problem solves. And we give them exactly the playbook we would do. Like, I've had people ask, like, well, how much do you hide? Like, do you want to give them exactly what you do? It's like, yeah, they're reaching out to you for some reason. They're not going to go do it themselves. And if it is that 1% that does go do it themselves, then like more power to them. But they're hiring you for a reason. They're at capacity. They can't do this. So give them exactly what we would do. And then when they sign on, then we go into onboarding, which is they get a dedicated experienced strategist. I only have in-house strategists, and then they get a team. So we're in the pod system. So strategists are working with the clients. I like to say every client knows what A to B is. It's our job to fill how do we get from A to B? And so that's the strategist job, is like to paint the picture and prioritize and project manage. And then they have a team of media buyers, email specialists, and designers behind them that help execute. But it's the strategist job to make sure that that execution is following that A to B plan. And usually within on signing and onboarding to then 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending, we'll have our strategy implemented and getting results, and then it can be pivot from there.
Awesome. So trends in e-commerce shift quickly. How do you help
Mhm.
brands stay ahead of what's next without chasing a shiny object?
Oh, yeah, great question. So, um, trends in e-commerce are the best part is what I love about e-commerce and digital marketing is uh, you can you can make quick decisions and then you can analyze it quickly. So whenever there's like a trend or hey, like a new creative format or even like a new channel, we can say, hey, we'll bring it to their attention, say, is this the right fit for them? Yes, it is. So let's bring it to the client. Let's have a game plan of what is testing and what is success. So then we can just test it. And if it follows the successful KPIs, then we can actually properly invest into it. But that's why I love digital marketing and performance marketing. Let's say um, like I don't know, like TikTok shops right now is a huge trend right now. So okay, what is the time frame? What is success? What is profitable? And what needs to happen for this to be a viable channel? Let's have a center of truth of data to measure that, which is either a first party tracking system or on platform. And then if it hits those KPIs, then we'll invest even more into this. But what is it? At least a test budget, and we come to an upfront contract of what will then make us follow that shiny object. But let's follow data, or we're pretty on the leading edge of new trends in e-commerce because we have 16 experienced people in the company that all have their finger on the pulse of what's happening. So we get new ideas all the time. And I usually say, okay, let's find an account, let's test it out. If it works, report back, and then we'll go across the business of all our clients. So it's really about following data. You can have opinion, but it's really hard to argue with numbers. And that could be like the right brain, left brain conversation. But that's normally where I go is, what does the data tell us?
Right. Because, testing is everything. And I know
Mhm.
everyone always says that, but it is. And you don't know until you try because a lot of times maybe there's 15 people in a room and they all have the same opinion, but it doesn't mean it's correct.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like,
all the time, clients will come to us with like, um, kind of more like opinion based decision making, which I love. Like nobody has a stronger inclination or opinion than the brand than somebody working full time in house. So like, I never dismiss it. But my rarely do I say no, 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 bad idea. And I mean, unless it's a really bad idea. But usually I'll say, okay, no, it's a great shout. Let's test it. Let's follow the numbers and let's come to agreement right now with what time frame, what budget are we going to give it, and what KPIs it has to hit for this to be a successful thing. Like if I disagree with it, I'll say, I don't know if that's going to work. I'm a little reserved, but we can test it. And if this fails, then we'll know why and we'll regroup. But like it's a test, it can pass or fail. End of the day, so nobody can get angry if something fails because you only win by testing things, finding successful, and then doubling down on it. So we rarely say no to like new ideas brought to the table by our clients, but we rarely say screaming yes. We say, cool, let's test it. Let's have an upfront contract of what is the pass fail.
right, exactly. And like, for example, there was a client of mine and he delivers really high quality meat and he loves to
Oh, okay.
give demos. And that's
Damn.
amazing. And I love that personal touch. I feel like that is really lacking. And he said people enjoy it, and I believe him. But there are those people that exist that do not want someone at their home. And having that open and honest conversation with him was like, oh, he's like, you're so right. I need to add e-commerce to my site. So just being able to have that, and maybe I don't know, maybe he had something that I didn't know. He does it every single day, and he did. He came back to me and was like, okay, but what about this? And I'm like, you're right about that. So it's kind of about meeting in the middle and
Okay.
seeing what fits. And again, testing.
Yeah, and I always say like it's about like merging the brain power, right? Like nobody has a stronger brain power of the brand than somebody that works full time in house on it. So like give us all your knowledge of the brand and we'll bring our expertise of digital marketing and performance marketing. Let's mirror them together. It's a collaboration. So I always like to tell clients that up front. Like this isn't, just a pass to get a bunch of stuff off your plate. Yeah, it will, but like this is going to be work as well for you. We got to collaborate here to make this successful. So we'll
Right.
take all the boring stuff and the stuff that you don't know how to do off your plate, but like setting us up for success is insanely important here so we can print money for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also makes it much more quality, obviously, but a lot of times people go to agencies and they're like, "Okay, well, they're the expert. I'm going to let them figure it out. Like, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, but what do you think? Like, tell
Mhm.
me what you've done in the past, what's been working for you, what do you think is going to work, and we can manage those expectations and put our heads together."
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So you've run campaigns on everything from Meta and Google to TikTok, Pinterest, and even CTV. How do you evaluate which platforms are worth it for each brand?
Yeah. So right now in ecom, there's still it depends on the industry, but I would say a good blanket statement is Meta and Google are still a lot of the bread and butter platforms. There is success on other channels. Like we've found quite a bit of success on Pinterest at times, but that's per industry. Like home decor does really well on Pinterest, right? So not every brand can just go run and start finding success on Pinterest, but majority of brands can find success on Meta and Google, right? So those are usually the bread and butter platforms. And then how we use these other platforms are different stages of the funnel. So what we've done with TikTok and Pinterest at times, because they're lower CPMs compared to those two, we can use them as just top of funnel acquisition of like, uh, there's not too many people, there's people making purchase decisions on TikTok, lower average order value usually, like, you know, $15 to $40 purchases. Yeah, they'll buy on TikTok, but if you have like $150 to $250 average order value, they usually do a lot of discovery on TikTok. And so we can do TikTok ads to just get them in the ecosystem, get them clicking, get them discovering, get them going to the website, potentially adding to cart, doing some discovery. And the next time they log on to Instagram or Meta, we're retargeting them. And that's the success of that brand is what is the click-through rate? What is it getting them into the ecosystem? And then the success rate of Meta and Google is the conversion rate, right? And then same sometimes with YouTube. YouTube sometimes doesn't drive. Not a lot of people go to YouTube to then leave the platform and make a purchase decision, but there's still a lot of discovery made on YouTube. So that's like Google's top of funnel app, and that's what success is there. And overall, we'll have different KPIs and metrics that scream success per platform. But this is where you can really simplify it is we also just love tracking MER, marketing efficiency ratio. Just what is the percentage of revenue spent on ads? And is that a profitable and efficient level? If so, then great. Let's keep that's the golden nugget to measurement, right? Like you can get as fancy as you want with ROAS, CPA. Honestly, unless you have a really good tracking system, on platform data is skewed at times. Like Google's taking over attribution, Meta's taking over attribution. So you can make a lot of decisions based off on platform data. They could be wrong. And so the golden nugget of KPIs to us is just MER. Are you spending at an efficient level? Is it profitable? And is it growing the business profitably? If that's happening, gold stars. Now we can get into the secondary KPIs, which are the vanity metrics of like ROAS and stuff like that. So I hope, does that answer the question of like
That's
how we kind of
perfect.
look at? Okay. So
Absolutely. I mean, there's never a perfect answer to anything,
yeah.
especially in marketing. That's why there's so much pivoting happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Just cue the Friends meme of Ross pivoting the couch.
literally. I told this there was this person I was speaking with, a partner, and she was trying to determine an ad, and pivot is one of her key terms that she uses. And I was like, should definitely do this one. A
Yeah,
pivot,
that's
you know.
cue the meme, exactly.
Cue the meme. So there's always a toss up with programmatic and social media because especially if you're looking at Meta, the targeting can be a little more broad and more intentional based, whereas programmatic can be very targeted and very specific based off of someone's interests and what they're looking for. But programmatic is much more awareness based, and then Meta is much more lead generation. So, where does that balance happen for you?
Um, per personally in my company, because we're performance oriented and like a lot of our brands come to us with like again that A to B being I want to grow my business by X amount. I need this amount of new customers injected into the company. We're primarily going to those more performance driven platforms, which is the Meta, Google Suite, Bing, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Programmatic is usually with brands that have again that awareness piece and they do have budget to spend, whereas if they're hey, budget is lean and we want to just what will actually move the needle as much as possible, that's where we'll put 100% of budget into more performance based. And that's what we measure on a month to month, year to year, year over year is how many new customers are coming into the business, at what cost? What are we costing to acquire them? And what's their 12-month LTV? So is it profitable in acquisition? If so, boom, awesome, great. And then how profitable does it get with LTV? And you can just gamify things, right? Okay, how can we scale up new customer acquisition? This is the barrier to make sure it's profitable. And then how can we manipulate the retention systems to make sure that LTV grows over the next 12 months? If you're getting profitable acquisition, and growing LTV, you're winning as an e-commerce business. So we usually tend to those platforms that will move the needle most for new customer and LTV, which sometimes can fall under programmatic, usually doesn't. And that's why we tend to stay away from it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It's just sometimes it can be such a challenge. You're like, oh, because we do a lot of programmatic. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, we have this really niche target that we're looking for. And
Yeah.
here's this perfect third party data that is in this platform, but they want leads. So it's like we have to instead do sequential messaging where we're building that audience through programmatic and then pushing it down the funnel that way. And it takes a little bit longer, but it's also like, going to the gym every day, like we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great way of putting it. Like it overall, it's going to improve. Like there's no negative to it. It improves the health of business, improves the eyeballs, it improves the total like addressable market for your campaigns. So I think it is a play, especially with those more niche targeting. We don't have too many brands that fall under like insanely niche targeting. It's a lot of sports equipment, apparel, beauty, a lot of that can go source to Meta, right? So niche markets are great, especially even like gray area markets, uh, and then the ones that do have more of a time horizon on like I want to grow the health of my business. Ooh, that's when we would definitely layer in programmatic for sure.
Very smart. Very true. So you talked about building a spiky team over a
Mm.
well-rounded one. Can you unpack what that means and why it works for you?
Yeah, it's actually the same coach that kind of told me about being like obsessed with people, and that's when this came out. Is I came to him with, management problems of, why isn't the team doing X why are they doing X and I want them to do Y. Quick first question was, well, how are you managing them? I was like, I don't know. The way I would want to be managed. He's like, perfect. Yeah, that's your first problem. Like I was creating like competitiveness in the team because I've played sports and that
Mhm.
competitiveness is one of my strengths, right? So whereas other people don't thrive in competitive, it actually shuts them down more than it lifts them up. So uh, that's when he was like, "Do you even know the strengths of your team members?" And I unfortunately said no. And so he's like, "Okay, let's go analyze them." So we use Clifton Strengths, Gallup Clifton Strengths. I think like a lot of Fortune 500 companies use it. It's a great way to. I think it's like $70 or something like that. It spits out exactly kind of where's your basement and where's your balcony, right? What are your strengths and what deflates you? And you can then manage people based off strengths. And he was the one that's like, you don't want these well-rounded people. You want spiky people. You want people that are strong in certain scenarios. And then you pair them up with people that are spiky in other scenarios. And then there's strength partnerships, right? So a good example is in my strengths, I'm like an achiever and learner. Uh Essentially like and I have focus. So like put something in front of me and I'll get it done. Whereas I don't have too much strategic thinking in my top five. So essentially what that means is put a list in front of me, I will bang that out, I will get it done, and I will achieve. Creating that list, I might struggle. Whereas I have my head of partnerships and sales, he, number one is strategic thinking. So sometimes I'll go to him with a problem to, this is the problem. How do you think? This is how I think I should solve it. Like, what do you think is the exact kind of like checklist I need to? And he helps me create that. I'm like, cool, you're done. I'm gonna go now. And he's like, do you need help with that check? Nope, that's all I needed. And so like pairing yourself up with people that are uh, partners or strength partners is that's what I mean by spiky people. Because I think it's really hard to put the burden of no, we got to be good, dangerous in every area. It's just not realistic. People have different strengths and people have different like their battery gets fueled in different ways. So when you set people up for their strengths and pair them up with people that are strong in other areas, you get a team that's just humming and very performance focused. And that's what we're trying to emulate within Tough.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, when I first started here, like over a year ago, I was first put with someone that I was training with that was similar to me. We were working together, I was learning from them, and it was nice. I was like, "Oh, this is really good." But I didn't really take off until I started learning from someone who was pretty opposite from me, had a completely different set of how she goes about her process. So it was just very interesting that having that opposite effect can be like, "Wow, I can learn from you because I don't have that quality, and you can inspire me to push for that."
Yeah, and I think knowing strengths or it also is great to know when people are going to their basement. Like there's positives and negatives to strength. So another example is one of my managing digital strategies is an absolute crusher, like workhorse. gets things done, will put in 14-hour days, like just achiever is in her top 5 as well. And we actually have kind of similar strengths in that way, like focus, achiever, just will get stuff done. However, that combination of strengths is like the easiest recipe to go into burnout. And
Mm.
she's hit it. So what we kind of, after analyzing her strengths, was like, this is amazing. You have like superpowers, but you got to know where this can start going into the basement and start getting negative. So like you need to take rotating vacations. You need to unplug and go recharge your battery, or else you're just going to run yourself into the ground. And it's really helped her. We're still improving it along the way, but she hit that in Q4, right? Well, I mean, Q4 in e-commerce is pretty stressful, but she was just achieving, going, running herself into the ground, and then just burnout hit. And it wasn't until we really sat down and was like, why is this happening? To analyze your strengths and be like, oh, it actually became like really clear, like this is why. You're just leveraging your strengths so often and so hard that it's going into your basement. So I always find that it's also good to pair people up, Spiky, but it also helps shine light on when people are going into the negative.
Right. Well, everybody needs to take the test of the top 5 because I need to.
Yeah, Clifton Strengths. It's so cool. And it's kind of creepy. Like you see it and you're like, that makes sense. That's why I do that
Yeah.
way.
My
But
boss
it's
today
cool.
was like, Kinsey,
Yeah.
you have to stop working till 9 p.m. You're going to burn
Yeah.
out. Like, I appreciate it, but like, it's not necessary. I'm like,
You
but it
probably have
is.
like an achiever or like a get stuff done
Mm,
strength in your top 5.
probably. Probably.
Yeah.
And then there's probably those people out there that aren't the achievers, but are really good at creating things. So when they
Yep.
do things, it's like, wow, this is amazing. You just need somebody to encourage you to like watch over you.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. It's like there's people that are great at managing, then there's people that are great at influencing. So like I'm actually not a great managed hands-on manager. In my strengths I have influencing and like leadership abilities, but my management skill is, oh, do it this way. Just figure it out. Like processes and SOPs, right? Like that's why I needed to find a head of operations, because I'm not a hands-on operator, but like pointing us in the right direction, influencing, leading, and futuristic strategic thinking all jam really well within my top 5. But like the hands-on management is definitely a basement for me. And so like, okay, cool. I need to go as a leader. It helps you just paint who you need to then go hire to make you super dangerous. And so that's after I really analyzed mine, I was like, these are the missing puzzle pieces, and this is who I need to go hire. And
Right.
it's working out
And also
pretty
in
well.
simpler terms, there's like 2, there's implementers and then there's the visionaries. And like if you're a
Exactly.
visionary, you can be a boss, but you need somebody that's an implementer that will help you take that imagination and implement it into something.
Yeah, hard visionary.
Yeah.
I also took
For sure.
that test as well.
Mhm.
Very definitely lean more towards the visionary before implementation.
Me as well.
There you go.
Yes.
It's the
Um,
glasses.
it's the glasses. Yes, very we are. You're funny. So you mentioned that you've been burned a little bit by some white labeled partners before. What have you learned from this experience, and what would you look for next in a potential partnership?
Yeah, I think we white labeled a few times, and I think just knowing where, like, whose responsibility fall under who. That was like the one of the biggest things is what are our responsibilities, and making sure that, okay, if these aren't on our plate, who's taking care of this, and is this setting us up for success? And then as well as vetting. Like there were some times where, you just get a opportunity on your desk and you're like, I don't want to let this slip through the cracks. So you rush a white label partner to help fulfill that project, and it doesn't work out and it creates a huge fire. So I think the biggest thing was vetting, like always date before you get married, right? Like give projects, like bring them in on smaller things before giving them the whale of a client. That was a big thing for us. And then as well as just having clear boundaries of like, okay, this is usually on our plate. This is not on our plate in this agreement because we're getting white labeled, or we have a white label partner. How is this getting fulfilled then? Let's at least have the knowledge, and then cool. Now we know exactly our expectations. I think those things, once they're properly aligned, then you can have a really successful white label partnership.
Absolutely. And being transparent enough to have that conversation and not like if you were the white label partner, not over promising and saying, oh, I'm going to give you the world. And then when they actually get down to it, they're like, "Oh, well, actually, we don't do that."
Yeah. Yeah. I've said it a few times in this, like, upfront contracts are the biggest thing for me. Not like literally a contract, but just upfront conversations of, okay, this is what we need out of this. This is what screams success. Are we aligned? Where is the response? Like, just having the we like to it's like it's this pun that's come into the it's kind of like the branding, like the tough conversations of tough media. That's what we always say. And I say it all the time by accident, but like having the tough conversations early rather than after the problems occurred, so much better. So much better compared to like, ooh, stuff's on fire. This is why it happened. And we kind of saw this at the beginning, but we didn't want to say anything. No, let's just have this early. And where is this going to go wrong? And how can we circumvent this?
Right. And don't be afraid to say no, or
Yeah.
because then eventually you can be like, "Oh, actually, we can." It's better saying no and then being like, "Oh, wait, actually, this can be our role," rather than being like, "Yes, it's our role," and then saying, "Actually, no," you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's never a fun one. That's a tough conversation.
That's a tough conversations. I mean, that's how you'll burn it, for sure.
Oh yeah,
S
and we say it all the time in meetings now, and we're like, it's kind of the branding now. It's like really the branding, and now it's just like a cringe moment every time somebody says it.
Yeah, so for your agency specifically, where do you typically find outsourcing to be successful?
Um, Outsourcing when it's successful is I would say right now, it's a lot. The creative side, we have a good group of creative partners that will, and we have some in house as well. So just creative is so subjective, I find, to the project, and so finding the right creative partners per project, I think, is the best thing, at least for us right now. And so we have in house capabilities, but then if there's projects that come along and it's outside of the in house capabilities and it's better suited for one of our partners, that's when we find a that's a great white label partnership, and especially in the creative side of things, because it is so subjective. Like, we can find creatives great, and then clients might not. And so, what are you looking for? What's a great creative? What screams success? Okay, we're not the prescription, but they are. That's when we're bringing it out. And then right now we don't do any web dev. So like we used to, didn't work out. Uh, so we actually don't white label it. It's just open third party partnerships. Hey, this is our go to kind of partner for web dev. They're a separate company, because another thing that's like really subjective, I find, is web dev. Like, hey, this is what we want. Oh, we want it this way, not that way, or this way, and it just creates a whole lot of problems. So I actually like it being a different party, because if it does catch on fire, we're not to blame. But creative and web dev is probably the most that we run into for outsourcing.
Right, and that also gives you the opportunity to stick to your niche and not spread yourself so thin, because that is a beast of its own.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. So looking ahead, where do you see Tough growing in the next 5 to 10 years? I know that's a long way, but
Yeah, no, it's something I think about a lot. So, I mean, I think there's still a lot of room to grow in the performance marketing, like the suite of services we have. I do think eventually we will bring in web dev opportunities, maybe not in like the full web dev capability, but we even do like landing pages right now, or conversion rate optimization is the biggest thing that we always run into. Like the analogy of like, you could lead a horse to water, but can't force it to drink, right? You can bring so much traffic, you can bring the right traffic, the right qualified, but if the website or where the landing isn't converted or built correctly, you leave money on the table. So bringing in conversion rate optimization is a big thing. Still investing heavily and heavily into creative team and creative partners. And then I think the biggest room to grow right now is potentially this TikTok shop phenomenon that's happening right now. Uh, it's a great kind of acquisition tool. If built correctly, it can be insanely profitable. It's kind of like the glory days of what Facebook used to be, and this creator marketplace phenomenon that's happening right now, where the best ads that are working are very organic looking. So having something that's organic that people can click and it's native to the platform and they can convert at a low AOV is really cool. So that would definitely be probably the next area, and then we're growing our enterprise level clients.
amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing the growth. Hopefully, in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll still be checking it out. Well, Parker, this has been such a refreshing conversation. Your mix of real world transparency and tactical experience is something a lot of founders and marketers can learn from, especially those trying to scale smart and not just fast. So, for anyone who wants to learn more about Tough Media, head to toughmedia.ca or connect with Parker directly on LinkedIn. Thanks again for joining us. This was a blast.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenzie.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe.